Hello, hello, hello. We got all the night owls. How the heck are you out there? Did you not hit the open bar enough? How we doing out there? That was literally exactly the same. Third time's the charm. The charm is a charm. How we freaking doing?
Who wants to talk about sex? Okay, wrong
You're not
room.
supposed to say that yet. I didn't announce that this will be PG-13. That has to
shoot.
happen first.
Well, I thought I'd get a bigger response than that.
Because they did hit the open bar, apparently. They're ready for it. Hey, so I know there's a lot of new faces here, and I think like a lot of people don't know anything about us. So briefly, the backstory is pretty simple. I bought a squeegee 20 years ago, and I started knocking on doors with my 1993 Chevy Cavalier with the perfect amount of rust and a 28-foot Werner ladder strapped to the roof of my work truck, okay? It was a work truck. This car was so embarrassing, I had to hide it around the corner when I go do an estimate because I didn't want people to see it, right? And that was the origin story of our entrepreneur family. And if you're married, I know you're all business owners, but if you're married and have kids, can I get a whoop whoop?
Woo woo.
Okay, so what we hope to accomplish during this session, because our whole heart with Automate, Grow, Sell, and Conquer from the origin of it, right? Because we originally founded it when it was this tiny baby, partnered with Brandon. He turned it into this behemoth, right? The heart behind it is for entrepreneur families because no amount of success in business can compensate for failure in the home. That's what we believe. We believe that marriage is hard, business is hard, parenting is hard, and you mix them together, and it's even extra harder, right? And so we want to help give you ideas on how you can potentially systemize your family, not in a robotic way, in a very powerful, epic, change the world, change your family tree, change your kid's life for the rest of their life kind of way. Anybody interested in that? Say, I am.
I am.
Okay, cool. And, I went from this Chevy Cavalier and made no money. Almost went bankrupt, had a car repossessed. I earned my bachelor's degree in pain and my master's degree in suffering. But then things started to sort of work with the business. It started to take off. The problem was I almost lost the thing that matters more than anything else, which is my relationship with my wife, right? All this stuff is just really hard. And one thing, when you come to business conferences, you're going to leave with piles of notes. But some of the times, the other things you leave with are guilt and shame, comparison in your brain. All these people are smarter than me. No, they're not. Never meet your heroes because you realize they're not that smart. They're really not. But the people that are winning in business, they've just implemented systems. That's literally it. A company is a conglomeration of systems stacked up and people stacked up. And that's exactly what a family is. A family is an organization. It's systems and it's people. And we're not here to suggest that you need systems. Our claim is that you already have a fully systemized family. Right now, everything you do already is a system. The way you talk to yourself is a system. The way you snap at your wife is a system. The way you yell at the dog because you had a bad day is a system. The way that you flick off a driver that cuts you off in traffic while your 6-year-old looks at you do that thing is a system. Everything already is systemized. And that's true for your business too, by the way. If you don't follow up with your customers, you have a zero-touch follow-up system. It doesn't work that good, right? So it's what we hope to help you wrap your head around is a framework on what that means and how you could do it. And it'll be fun, and we can do Q&A at the end. But can I ask you a question? For all every family is different. Husbands and wives work together. Sometimes the wife is the driving entrepreneur and the husband's supportive in the business. Sometimes, one's not in the business at all. And that's okay. We're going to tell our stories and our recommendations through our lens, where I was trying to be the crazy entrepreneur, and she wasn't there for it at the time. But you can still read between the lines and apply and adapt all this stuff to your specific thing. But here's the question. Do you think it would be helpful if you and your spouse were on next level fire together? If you had total momentum, total clarity, vision and unity of purpose. If you felt spidey sense, knots in your belly, you didn't just love your wife, you liked your wife. If it actually felt like that on a semi-regular basis, would that help your business? If it would, say, it would.
It would.
Do you really think it would, or do you think it wouldn't? If you think it would, say, it would.
It would.
Because, duh, right? A lot of success in business isn't about doing a thing. The success in business is about feeling like going and doing the thing. Half the time when we're sitting in our spreadsheet with the blinking cursor to build the Word doc out, and we waste 3 hours and we get anxiety, and then we go to Chick-fil-A instead, or maybe that was just me. It's overthinking and overthinking, right? When you feel like doing the hard things, you can do it. Anybody ever been in flow state when you're working? You hit the zone. You literally almost black out. You'll do more in 3 hours than you did in 3 weeks. You know what I'm talking about? Say yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I mean. When you feel like that, you can do anything. And so when you're in momentum with your spouse, Ashley and I call that becoming a wrecking ball. A wrecking ball, which means you can knock through any barrier, right? I know there's a lot of stuff in there. It's pretty dense, but I thought it was a cool way to kick it off. Was there anybody that related with any of the things mentioned in that video? I can't really see it. That's why it's like, yeah, me. Say me. Me? Somebody? Okay. Can you bring the lights back up, Theo?
Yeah, because we can't see anybody. I
Yeah,
can see Chris Cook and Jessica Cook.
That's a YouTube channel. It's just my name. I think you just search at Joshua Latimer. It's got like dozens of subscribers. You should totally check it out. Yeah, we're crushing it. Here's another thing I want to say before we get into the Q&A. We want it to be interactive. We want you to be open and vulnerable. We're going to start first and embarrass ourselves so you don't have to feel weird asking questions. Yes. But we have been so poor. And earlier I talked about trauma bonding as a joke, right? Because we grew up together and almost got divorced and this and cars repossessed. And then we've made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we've made $100,000 in one day. I've been paid $100,000 by one person to talk to them once a week. I built and exited 4 companies. And we've had all the success over here. None of it means anything outside of this, truly and authentically. And I think we know it in our soul because we know what we're probably going to say in our deathbed anyway, which is, I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have told my wife I loved her more, et cetera, right? There's nobody going to be complaining about not getting to 10 trucks in their 12-month goal back in 1988, right? Man, I really let myself down, right? That's not going to happen. It's not a thing. And one of the hard parts with Conquer is we kind of sell the dream, build your automated 7-figure business. And the reason we do that, I'll just level with you, is because that's what people want. It's what they think they want. And behavioral psychology says you sell people what they want, then you give them what they need. It's like putting a pill inside the bread that you feed to your dog, right? This is the stuff people actually need. But if we built our sales funnel around this, we'd have 5% of the signups into the Conquer program, right? So people think they want the money. And the hot stove analogy is everything's going to be better when you hit $1 million. There's tons of people in here that do $2, $3, $4, $5 million plus, right? And it's leveling up every day. And actually, you guys, I haven't talked to you about this, but you guys are doing. You said you did $5 million, right? Right? And how much did you do like 4 years ago? 2.7. Okay. How long ago was it when it was less than $1 million? 2014. Okay. Obviously, there's financial benefit to having means, right? Which is good. But is the $5 million what you thought it would be and feel like? Is it as glorious as you thought it would be if you would have fantasized about it before?
The $100,000 that Ashley threw me was more than our net profit.
Can you say that again?
The $100,000 she threw me was comical because it was more than our net profit.
Right now, you mean? Okay, so you're in hyper growth mode, right? That's actually. Thank you for sharing that. He said, they had a super low net profit, so even the $5 million sexy number, that's public facing. Then you have backstage, like, oh my God, we're freaking out, right? It's just hard. And I have a lot of really successful friends, and the only ones that take advice are from people that I would trade places with. And if they can't manage their household, I don't really care to be around them, right? So with that being said, we're going to do open forum style, but I'm going to give you a framework. So you can write this down. I would highly suggest you write it down. It's not like homework, but it's really cool. And I'm going to give you these 5 pieces to a framework, and I'll explain how it works. It's not something that Ashley and I invented. It's something we discovered. It's a pattern of success with family. Okay, the first thing is foundation. So write down the word foundation. Underneath that, write down the word frame. And I have very bad allergies, that's why I sound like this. Frame, F-R-A-M, M is in
Frame.
Mary. E, frame. Then write down focus. Then write down friends. Then write down, am I going too fast or is this okay? Then write down fire. You got the foundation, the frame, the focus, the friends, and the fire. The foundation, the frame, the friends, the focus, or the focus, the friends, the fire. Because I messed it up, I'll say it again. The foundation, the frame, the focus, the friends, and the fire. This is a loop that you never complete. This is a framework to automatically know what to do when things get out of whack. That has a 100% success rate, if I do say so myself. Okay, as long as both parties are interested and want to have a marriage that works. So what is foundation? Foundation, and I call them all things that start with the letter F because they're easier to memorize, right? Foundation is really connection. Imagine I cut a stick off of a tree and I was holding it up, and if I was to ask the crowd, is this stick alive or dead? I've already done this at different workshops and stuff, and people argue about it. Well, it's still alive for a little while, but for all intents and purposes, it's dead or it's about to be dead because it's cut off from the source, right? This is what happens with kids, with marriages, with everything. The 7-year mark's a popular divorce time. Actually, the first week in January is divorce week. I don't know if you do that.
Yes, it's divorce week this week, everybody.
Most divorces are filed the first week of January, so we don't ruin the holidays and we can. There's tax reasons and stuff. And then the 20-year mark is another common divorce marker because you basically had a roommate while your kids grew up, and then you bounce, right? You have your midlife crisis, you buy your Corvette, and you go get yourself a new girlfriend.
Wait. You bought a Corvette.
That's neither here nor there. That is neither here nor there.
Okay, keep going. I'm just kidding.
But so connection is the category or the bucket of systems you can consider putting in your family. We've done this with about 100 families. Well, we've done it with
Maybe
more,
more.
but at one time we did.
I've done it with all my
100.
unicorns as well. So
Yeah, and it's risky. And let me explain what it is and make sure you get it. See, the problem is I don't think Ashley and I actually were honest with each other until we were married for almost 10 years. And it's not intentional. It's just really hard to tell the actual truth. And you would think that the person closest to you in the world is the one person you actually could, but no, nobody does it. Almost nobody does it. So when you say, how are you feeling? Are you okay? Oh, I'm fine. That kind of a thing. Extended over long time horizons.
Code word for not okay. Fine is not the word for me.
So hypercommunicate is when you give each other permission to be not hateful, not hurtful, not attacking, but to download a literal snapshot of exactly what they're thinking, feeling, and struggling with at that slice of time. It doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be true. But if they feel it, it can go in the sheet. That's why you're not allowed to try to fix it. You don't have to fix it. Just saying it is 87% of the weight that is removed. So I'll give you an example. Did you guys know, we love Jesus. We're not religious people, but we love Jesus. Ashley has a T-shirt that says, I love Jesus, but I swear a little. Can I get an amen? Okay. So here's the thing. 66% of pastors are addicted to pornography, okay? They don't watch pornography. Everybody's seeing pornography. Addicted to pornography. That's weird as a pastor, right? So I already know because I've coached over 1,000 of y'all because I am you. And you are, I get it. I'm a professional dot connector. And what's interesting is the struggles are all the same, but it feels like it's just you, right? You're financially irresponsible. You have anxiety about your childhood. You have fear, guilt, shame. Some people have revenge, regret. They have massive amounts of addictions. Some of them are obvious. If you struggle with your weight, everybody knows it. You can't hide it. But all the other stuff that's even worse, no one would ever know unless you told them. But you're not going to tell them. And if you were going to tell someone, hopefully it could be your spouse. That's the purpose. This is real connection. So if you wrote your wife a note and said, I'm addicted to porn. I've been drinking every day secretly. I hate my body. I'm angry at my father. And I have no motivation, and I'm in a deep depression. And I feel like you're a roommate. You don't honor me. And I feel like you don't want me. And I feel like blah, blah, blah. That would be an example of a heavy, right? Everybody's like, oh, God. But the reality is that the large majority of people in this room resonate with every single thing I just said. And I already know for a fact that you do because You're not broken, okay? This is how life is. The problem is we don't communicate. But when you do that, it's like electrically supercharged of a release, right? It's a big deal. Some people are married 50 years, never even have a real conversation like this. You got to be connected with yourself.
Amen.
There's two groups of people. There's the people that live their life as a sacrifice for everyone else's needs and desires, which is why actually the number one deathbed regret is living a life based on other people's expectations, not what you really wanted. Did you know that? That's the number one across multiple studies, large sample size studies. It's not actually, I wish I would have loved my wife more, it's I lived a life on everybody else's expectations and terms. So if you're not connected with yourself, what you really want, right? If you don't take care of yourself, you don't put the oxygen mask on yourself, you become more and more useless to the people around you over time. Okay, let's keep going. So we have foundation, the frame, the focus, the friends, the fire. Foundation's first. What does it mean? Because I said this is a loop. This is how this works. We're going to go through each of these, but what you're going to understand is that whenever there's a time where things break, which always happens from time to time, the way that you fix it and diagnose it is you analyze these things in the order that we're going. It's where are we disconnected? No, actually, we're not disconnected. That's not the problem. But God, I just feel so heavy. I feel so stressed. I'm really, really freaking out. It's not that. Maybe it's the frame. Frame is the second one. Frame is identity. Identity. Frame is identity. People view everything in life through particular frames. If you study behavioral psychology and really advanced marketing and stuff, you understand that framing, pre-framing, reframing, and deframing is the game when it comes to selling stuff. And yes, for you too in service businesses. We could do a marketing masterclass for fun, maybe a different night. But the frame is how you look. Let me ask you this. Have you ever met someone that literally cannot see opportunity? They just can't see it. They can only see what's broken. They can't see anything good in anything. If you know someone like that, say, I do. Okay? Look, it's not even this person's fault. It's because their frame is flawed. It's broken. It's false. But it doesn't matter if it's false, if that's how they see it. Some people, if you believe everyone's conspiring against you, you will see that happening all the time. If you believe that your next breakthrough is right around the corner, you will see opportunities all the time. I am like an opportunity junkie. I mean, the problem for people that are positive thinking and have a clear frame is that they have to say no to all the opportunities because they see them, right? And that's just one example of a frame. But a frame is also how you view your wife and how you think that your wife views you. It's totally fictitious. It's built through a frame. If you were sexually abused as a kid, if you had abuse as a kid, if you were picked on as a kid, or if you were propped up and glorified as a kid, it creates frames. If you think you're God's gift to humanity, you ever meet this? The Uncle Rico type high school athlete guy who's 26 and he thinks he's awesome still, from Napoleon Dynamite, Uncle Rico. And this guy's frame is he's a friggin' legend. It's not true, but to him it's definitely true. It's a frame. That's the frame that he has. So frame control is huge, huge, huge. Now, some of you all need to deframe yourself down a couple notches because you're a little too big for your britches. But most of you need to frame yourself up because you are super valuable, way more talented than you think you are, capable of far exceedingly beyond what you think you are right now. And that's not woo-woo positive talk. It's literally true. One of the best gifts of my life is meeting these people with $100 million companies, $200 million. We have friends I talked to 2 days ago, before they were 30 years old, did $250 million. And when you meet people like this, they literally have different frames. The way they do what they do is totally different. They don't get roadblocked by every little self-limiting thought. They just go do stuff. So for business success, frame is important. But for family, frame is important. Your kids are having their frames constructed by you right now. The way that you do what you do. Have you ever heard there's life and death in the power of the tongue, right? One offhanded comment at the wrong time to a daughter, right? Your 7-year-old, oh, your belly's really poking out there. One thing like that creates a frame. That frame will control subconsciously 50 years of her life potentially, right? So what we do with family systems, I'm getting too heavy, I'm not trying to be heavy, but is we do simple things to try to create a positive frame for our kids. A birthright is a system idea you could use. It's a manifesto. It's a proclamation of who you are, where you're going, why it matters, and who you're fighting against, and what's going to happen.
Also, core values. I'm sorry, I forgot about those.
Core values is another system. We have, faith, work ethic, character, and leadership are our 4 core values. Just like Burger King, right? We have a Latimer of the Month award at our house, right? We haven't actually used that one in a while, but it's a system. Who embodied the core values the most? They get their picture, they get the little badge, they get $20, and they get to pick what we have for dinner. It's pretty awesome, especially when you're like 8, when you're 8 years old. But these are frame-controlling identity systems. Our kids don't know it at this level yet, but what's happening to them is there's a 5-foot canvas in our house that says the Latimer birthright. I am a child of God. I am here for greatness. I will do hard things. I will read God's word. I will defend my neighbor. I will defend my mind. I will defend the weak, and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's a thing that they read because if you don't tell your kids who they are,
The world will do it for you.
the world will do it for you. That's right. I don't know about y'all. I don't want helly weird telling my kids who they are. Anybody else? Is it just me? Yeah, so like your core values, let's say that you want one of your core values for family to be like honesty. But you've been dishonest and you know it, so you're going to feel funky writing it down, right? It's a cognitive dissonance. Write it down anyway. Core values are not you declaring what you are right now. Core values are you defining where you're trying to go. That's what they are. See the difference? See the difference? They're future-based aspirations. It's not like, I'm awesome. We have faith, character, work ethic. Are you kidding me? I'm an extremely, debilitatingly bad at lots of things, a very flawed person, right? But that's not going to stop me from aiming high, right? And telling my kids, this is who we're becoming, right? So these are identity systems. We get everything. Oh, the logo is just a visual representation of that birthright. That's what it is. It's pretty cool. We have it on socks and underwear and canvases and pillows and blankets and beach towels. It's literally everywhere. Proprietary language is isms and phrases that your family probably already uses. Like, do hard things is one example, but we have other T-shirts that say,
It's not
it's
Mount
not
Everest.
Mount Everest. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It only matters if it's worth it. I am not a victim, right? All these things, I think, actually, is Kat Thompson in here? They had no drama llama. I thought that was funny. That was one of their family proprietary phrases. No drama llama. That was like their thing. Okay, so foundation, frame. The next one is focus. Focus has to do with goal setting. We don't have to spend as much time on this. It's self-explanatory except for this. Here's my tip. Most people set goals the wrong way. They set either... They just have a hard time knowing what they want. I said that in that YouTube video. They know what they don't want. It's hard for them to know what they want. Spend real time figuring out what you want. If you don't know what you want, your goal is to find out what you want. And one of the ways to find out what you want is to look for clues of what you already are. What makes you come alive? What puts you into flow state? What do you get goosebumps while doing it? If you're talking to a person at the grocery store about a certain topic and you say a thing and you light up, that's a clue. Okay? So you're built for something in that direction, right? Mm-hmm. But we want to have goals, and we also want to be open with our goals with our kids. We're open financially with our kids. In the 1950s, they didn't talk about money and stuff. It was like taboo. We're the opposite, right? So we talk about that. We set goals. We miss goals all the time. We just did decree night about a week ago where we got together with 20 other families and called our shot for 2023, all as a group. We read out our goals to each other. We sealed them up in these envelopes and wax stamped them, right? And our children are doing this. My 5-year-old does it. Her goals are a little sketchy, I'm not going to lie.
She wants to find a good husband in 2023.
She said she wants to have a baby, and I'm like, well, that's not
happening this year.
But it's building a muscle, right? So if we're connected, not perfect, but, connected on an ongoing basis, and we have an identity, we know who we're trying to be, and we have targets, and you can change your targets all the time. The next stage is friends. You got to be really careful who you give permission to speak into your life. Mm-hmm. All advice is not created equal. Yes. There's a difference between competent advice and unsolicited opinions. These are not the same things. You have to be very careful, right? Because, there's life and death in the power of the tongue. What'll happen is when you start achieving success, some of your friends will start acting weird. That ever happen to anybody?
Weird.
Anybody? How many people can you call on your phone and say, I made $100,000 today? And they would say, frick yes, freaking awesome, woo, right? And mean it, and you know that they mean it. It's not that they're bad, we're good, or anything. All I'm saying is that the friends that you curate, that you nurture and curate, need to be directionally aligned with all this other stuff we're talking about. We're connected, we're going here, we're going to change the world, I'm going to do this big thing. The friends I have to be like congruent with the rest of it. You see what I'm saying? See the loop? Okay? Very important. And you gotta cut people off sometimes. So maybe you don't cut them off completely, but you just don't talk to them except at Thanksgiving. And at Thanksgiving, Uncle Larry can do all the crazy stuff he wants. We can give him one day a year, right? But he doesn't have to give us his opinion all the time. You ever go to Thanksgiving, Uncle Larry? Oh, you know what you should do? Oh, you got that business, huh? Right? He's never even had a company before. Oh, you know what you should do? Yeah, I was watching Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs. Yeah, what you should do, and you're just like, oh my God, get me out of here, right? It's not that we don't love Uncle Larry. It's not that Uncle Larry is bad. He's not. But he's not allowed to have a seat at the table of what direction I'm going in. He doesn't have access to that part of me. That's what we mean by friends. Last one. Are you laughing at me?
No, I just thought it was adorable.
My nose is getting more
I know,
clogged
so
as we
it was
go.
like
It's so
really,
bad. And then the last one is fire. This is the fun part. Most entrepreneurs only do this part. Fire is doing hard things in your business. It's growing. It's going for it. It's going and selling. It's clubbing stuff, dragging it home. It's making money. It's creating wealth. It's getting edification. You know, we interviewed Russell Brunson and his wife one time, right? And he's the founder of ClickFunnels. Most people have heard of Russell Brunson. A lot of people. He grew a really big software company really fast. It's worth $1 billion, right? And he came home from work one day, and he had made $1 million that day. And he was pumped, you know? He's like, I'm awesome. That's pretty cool. Not a lot of people do that. And he tells his wife, hey, made $1 million today. And she goes, yeah, whatever. We just take out the garbage. That's what happened, right? I thought that was the best story because, first of all, thank God for her to bring him back to reality. Because when you're doing your business stuff, you get this false pride that builds up. You think you're actually really awesome when you're not, because your peers at work and your colleagues in the Facebook group, oh, you're so smart. Aren't you a genius? Oh, my God, please teach me your ways. And you get puffed up, puffed up, puffed up. And when you're in the fire, that's what you're doing, though. You're growing and kicking butt and doing it, but then something will break. Something will get off, right? Someone will need you. One of your family members will have a need. And this 5-part framework is the loop you go through, right? So if it's break, we push pause on the fire, even if it's for 4 hours or if it's for 4 days. And we do an audit on our connection, our identity, the goals. Do we need to change them, edit them, delete them, or friends? And then we go right back into the fire. And that's what you're doing, is cycling through that as you go. Is that useful information? What are you thinking as I say all that? Yes? Yes? Okay. All right, let's talk about weird things.
Weird.
Who has a comment?
Or question.
A question? A concern? Who is thinking a thought or wants clarification on anything that we've talked about, or has an idea to add back to the group that would be useful? I'm going to come down here. Can I walk with this mic?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, you got a runner? Okay.
All right, so my question is, when it comes to identity and you have this frame of how you view yourself, right? But you're looking to level up and become a different version of yourself, what would you say to kind of like some tips to how you can switch that perspective when it's something that you believe?
It's a great question. It's actually really hard to do it, and it takes a long time. So reframing who you believe in your heart you actually are is not easy at all. You ever watch these like guys on TV, these self-help guys, or like or remember Stuart Smalley from Mad TV? He's like, I'm good enough, I'm strong enough, and gosh darn it, people love me. You ever see that guy? And they're like, oh, the way to change your identity is to do affirmations. You know, tell yourself 12 things every morning that aren't true at all. I am fit. I am healthy. I am genius. I am rich. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. And your own self isn't stupid. That doesn't work, right? Reframing your identity is a combination of the people that you allow to speak, not just the people, the all content, media, and people that you'll give permission to speak into your life, including your own thoughts. and then doing things outside your comfort zone to test your new reality. So I'll give you an example. Public speaking, I would throw up. You know, it doesn't bother me. It's not a big deal at all. But when I first started, I literally wanted to throw up. I told Ashley I was going to do it every time I was asked for a minimum of 2 years. This is like in 2014 or so, 15. I said, I was getting asked to speak, and I said, I don't want to. I said, you know what? Who I want to become has to be a person that can do that thing, so I can't not do it, so I might as well get it over with. And so for 2 years, it was hard, but it gradually gets better. But mainly it's thoughts. You know, we have a friend named Myron Golden. Anybody ever heard of Myron Golden? Okay.
Ooh.
He lives in Tampa, just saying. I may or may not have texted him a couple hours ago. I'm working on something
May or
for
may
you guys.
not be sure.
But anyway, he teaches this. This is just, let me blow your mind for a second, okay? The thoughts in our head, left unchecked, become the beliefs in your heart. That's how it works, okay? I'm fat, I'm worthless, I'm not worthy, I'm not whatever negative thing or positive thing. In your head, left unchecked, becomes a belief in your heart. The beliefs in our heart control the actions in our hands. You know, most of what people do every day is subconscious. It's called a hypnotic rhythm. We just do stuff, you know. The good and the bad parts we do are to reinforce who we believe that we are. Is that too deep, or are you picking up what I'm throwing down?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so what's happening is you walk through life, you're watching certain movies, you're watching certain music, people you respect will say a word that cuts you, right? Or any negative thing that goes into your head as a thought. What's awesome is just because it goes in your head as a thought, it doesn't have to become a belief in your heart. You have to take captive. This is actually a Bible verse. We'll have church for 2 seconds, okay? Because it's very practical. It says, take captive every thought that exalts itself above the name of the Lord. All that means is actually become aware of your own thoughts. You'll hear yourself talk to yourself. You say, you're such an idiot. You'll say that. We do it all day long, all the time. We just don't listen for it. Next time that happens, just grab it and look at it and say, is this true or is it not true? That's all you're doing. You don't get all worked up about it. You're an idiot. Am I an idiot? Maybe I am. Is it like scientifically, categorically true that I am definitionally an idiot? No, it's not true. We'll see ya, right? And you're grabbing and you're curating your mind and your thoughts. And you got to do that for a long time. It's easier, though, when you start pouring in truth into your head. And those will become new beliefs, right? Which will change the actions in your hand, right? But a fit person, it like the pain of eating the cupcake, the cognitive dissonance of them being like, I'm a fit person, I'm a fit person. As they put the cupcake in, I'm a fit person. They can't do it. They're like, oh, God, I don't want it, right? But I have the inverse of that with that category of a thing, right? So, but this is true for everything, with money especially. Identity and money is everything. Like, because a lot of people think people with money are evil or did something bad to get it. And even when you're trying to build your business, you're never going to actually pursue the thing you despise. You don't even know this is happening in your head. This is literally what's happening when I work with people. When the breakthrough happens, we'll have people go from $300,000 to $1.6 million in 14 months, right? It's because of a belief that's broken and replaced with a new belief. That's where it happens. Because then you feel different and you do different. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, wow, that was really loud. Sorry. I know you mentioned you guys do date nights and stuff together, but how else do you try to separate like your home life and your business life? I don't know if you guys work every day together within your business, but when you guys did, or if you guys did, how would you separate the two?
I don't think there's a right way. Like, don't try to conform to.
Well, no, just like any advice or any little ideas that you guys have, just how
So
you did
do
with your
you,
kids.
can I ask you a couple questions just
Yeah.
for clarification? So when you do spend time that's not work time, does the conversation always go to business and that bothers you? Is that what's happening?
No, usually it's me that continues to talk about business
Okay.
because I'm excited
And
about
it bothers him.
Well, no, it's just we don't really like the conversations sometimes are always about business.
Is
so I'm
either of
trying
you
to,
bothered by it?
separate. No.
Okay, we're good. Truly and actually. You know, our friend Monica, we just interviewed her, and she was talking about how compromise is like the killer
Of marriage.
intimacy. Most traditional marriage advice is like, well, you just got to compromise. It's like a horrible idea. What you want to do is collaborate. So I'll give you an example that applies to your thing. We don't like to eat at the same restaurants. She wants these goat cheese balls from this weird, stupid restaurant where it's $47 for 3 goat cheese balls. I think
is
that's
not
super dumb.
$47.
I want to go to Five Guys, okay? So what do? Well, we go get goat cheese balls and we eat them, and then we go to Five Guys, and it's even more fun. Sometimes even with my kids, I'll be not all the time because it's very inconvenient, but I'll let them each pick a different restaurant. We'll drive around as a family to every single place, and they all get the thing they want. So if you guys are good with it, it's not broken, right? And so don't feel bad for being love in business. You're not broken. You don't need to be fixed in that way. It's such a good question though, because we feel bad as if you're not supposed to do that. Says who? Why not? Does it give you life? Does it set you on fire? Does it make you excited? I mean, not all the time. Sometimes you're probably stressing out about something. But you're like, we're doing this. We're building something, right?
Yeah, I usually stress him out with all my ideas, but
Okay.
about the same. Yeah.
So is he more the organized integrator person and you're visionary person?
He's been the visionary, but I just started helping him in his business this year. So I'll have like 10 ideas in all different directions that usually stress him out, but
Are you
trying to like
excited?
balance that.
Are you excited thinking of ideas, or are you criticizing and giving ideas?
No, excited.
Yeah, so you just got red pilled to how cool business is, and you just want to chat about it a lot right now, right?
Yeah.
You're like, this is freaking awesome. We could use a spreadsheet. Have you heard of Zapier? Oh my God, there's a thing called Zapier. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. It's freaking awesome. You should like be thankful, like, how cool is this, right? But if it becomes a problem, you just talk about it. Truth snapshot, literally truth, and it's fixed.
Gotcha.
Anything else?
Collaboration.
What was the collaboration part? This is actually Monica's quote. It was compromise is a killer of intimacy. She's a sex and intimacy expert. Really cool. And that broke my brain because we were like, oh, well, we have to compromise. But what compromise really actually means is that both of you don't get what you wanted. That's like definitionally what it is, right? But we try to find how to make 1 + 1 = 3. And it's not
I see a
perfect.
question over here. Was it Chase Lord? Is that you, Chase? Well, then I saw another hand.
What's up, Chase Lord?
So I wanted to affirm something that you talked about. You brought up about the truth. What's it called?
The truth snapshot.
The truth snapshot. I felt called earlier to say something and I didn't, and then you had to bring it up. So 2 years ago, and you and I have talked about this, 2 years ago I came clean with my bride about an addiction to pornography.
Yeah.
That had had a lifelong addiction exposed at a very early age. January 14th, I will be 2 years free and clean of pornography. And so it has, yes. It is a massive problem. Our men in here were high drive, and that's high drive in every area of life. And so if you want to revolutionize your marriage, if you want to revolutionize your bank account, your business, my challenge is find freedom from that. My wife and I, our marriage, we talked to Josh earlier, our marriage is light years beyond anywhere it was. We've been married 15 years. I would say we've had more intimate relations over the last 2 years than we did the entire first 13 years combined. In that there's so many benefits. My personal income has significantly increased. You want to change your life? Surrender that, come clean, become truthful with your wife.
So good, bro. Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, Chase.
There was somebody else that had their hand up. Oh, over here.
Do you have any advice for the single people in the room, if there is any single people other than me? You know, but like, in other words, can you build like a foundation? Can you build a framework?
Yeah, you
around
work on you.
this?
Become the most epic badass in the human history. That's what your job is right now.
Nice.
And that is in all areas of life, right? So who do you have to become? Who do you have to become to be able to effortlessly do what's required to have everything that you know you're destined to have? So I would focus on that. I mean, you're going to become just a magnet, right? You know, the problem with porn, this isn't a religious argument at all. I think it's actually really interesting. You know, there's biology. It makes sense to me. It's like guys want to see a boobie, and they're like, wow, that's a stimulus, right? The thing is, though, I think what's happening, I'm embarrassing my wife. What's interesting to me is it's a way to get everything in exchange for nothing. So, like, transactionally, that's what's happening. You got to look back in, like, human history. Like, in the year 1712, when you had to chop down the trees to build the log cabin before fall, or you died and froze to death on your government-issued 40 acres, that guy wasn't, like, wrestling with this problem, right? But he would if it was placed in front of him. But you're taking everything in exchange for nothing. Because also in ancient times, like, sex is the driver of humanity. World wars conquests happen because of a comment's whispered in the ear of a king from a woman. Like, there's this major, it's spiritual, it's physical, it's epic. It penetrates far beyond anything you could imagine, if you know what I mean, double entendre. But I think as a business owner, when you're looking for ways to take without giving, it's just a bad precedent. It doesn't make sense. It's not good for you. So, like, not that you even talked about that, but my point is doing hard things, becoming awesome, leveling up. That would be my advice.
Can I ask, like, is there things that you guys do individually to, like, systemize your life, to formulate yourself, like, form more wholeness in yourself, to bring to, like, a partnership?
Yeah, I mean, we have so many systems. We'll schedule sex sometimes. Just another sex one that you didn't
But
ask
you're
about.
saying
Sorry to keep going.
That's
self.
cool.
You're talking about self systems, right?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it doesn't
I was
matter.
going there.
Isn't- Isn't that crucial to the
Homeboy is
marriage?
can only think about one thing right now.
We got to get back to our room real quick here. We got. No, I was going there.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Keep
But
going.
for me, my main self system is that I have alone time every single day, almost forever. Even when I lived in Costa Rica, I spent 2 to 4 hours by myself every day, which might sound like, wow, that's selfish. I don't think so. I believe there's power in imagination and thought, in learning. I consume information, I do it slow. For me, it's food to me. If I could sit with books in an Alaskan cabin on 1,000 acres by myself, I would be in a happy place.
Hey, so totally can relate. We recently started scheduling date nights, and it was probably the most awkward thing
Yeah.
that we ever experienced.
Oh,
Because like
yeah.
we went to the zoo together, and we're just like, okay, this is weird. I don't know how to act around you because all we
Yeah.
ever talked about is the business, so we totally
Yeah.
relate to that. But what are some systems you guys have used to inspire more of that conversation and not talk about business when you do have date
You
nights?
pre-plan the questions. So there's a ton of websites. So you can download 500 weird questions to ask, and you take them with you before you go. So it's like a joke. It's a game. Like, so your challenge on the date night is to ask each other the 10 questions. And they're weird things, right? It could be anything. There's silly ones. Do you have any off the top of your head, an example of the date night questions? Aren't fight
Yeah,
provoking?
fight provoking.
No,
If you-
I actually, it's funny that you said that because I think it was at Walgreens or something, and there was like 80 conversation cards with like a scripture
Yeah.
on it or whatever, and I grabbed them for us. One of them was like, if you didn't have the occupation that you have now, what do you think you would do? Like something like that. And I learned something about him that I didn't know, So
Yeah.
that was kinda
Yes, I'm actually looking up. I have a resource here. What is one superpower you would like to have and why? What teacher influenced you the most? What's your idea of the best vacation? If I was stranded on an island, I would take these 3 things. And then you debate it and bicker about it. Like, what? You take your fishing pole? No, you should take your. Well, actually, that'd be a great thing to take on an island. I regret that. In a movie about your life, what actor would you want to play you? What habits drive you crazy that I do, right? But then there's other ones where, if you had $1 million but it all had to be given away, where would you give it? What's your biggest regret in life? What was your favorite toy when you were a kid? What's your ideal foreplay?
Ooh.
I've always poured myself into my work, and now, we have a business, obviously. And in my mind, I'm thinking of all the things I need to do, and I'm doing those things for my family. But I'm taken away from my family because I cannot disconnect. I'm here, and we took some extra days. We came early, and we're going to stay late. But when we came early, I'm in the room, and I'm on my laptop.
Yeah.
I need help.
Well, is it-
Learning how to pull away, to give that time, even if it's scheduled, but to fully give that time to them.
Okay. Let me break down a couple things because a lot of people can relate, including me, because I am you, okay? I don't think you're broken. Men are designed to die for stuff. That's my opinion. Like men, that's why we like the movie Braveheart. We trade our life for an epic thing bigger than ourselves, and we die for that thing. That's like the coolest, most epic thing. And so, building a business is a form of that. But not that this is you, but what I see when I work with people, sometimes we use this "don't you know everything I do is for this family" excuse of being at work because we're really hiding from it being intimate. We're actually pretending that we're dying for the greater good, when if we're really honest, not necessarily you, but could be. That's for you to decide. You just don't want to have the intimate, awkward conversations, but they're critical. I don't. And by the way, I don't do vacations well ever. That's not a thing for me. Just can't. Like I just can't do that. But she's getting her tank filled in other ways all the time, and so I don't need to build it up for 3 years and then be Mr. Perfect Vacation Guy for a week at Disney, which I would want to drive off a cliff if I had to do that, to be honest. Because entrepreneurs like momentum, right? So I guess what I'm saying is, you have to maintain your relationship, or you won't have one. So there's a bare minimum level, and then there's you have a perfectly clean car all the time level because you maintain your car. Like you got to do it unless you don't care about it. And I don't think it's valid to be like everything I do is for this family. I just don't think that's true, and I'll give you a reason why. If you have 20 minutes per day of conversation with your wife, not about work, just asking questions. Hey, what have you been thinking? What show you been watching? Oh, what's going on? Do you see The Neighbors? What's their deal? Oh, what do you think about that? 20 minutes a day for 7 days. If you do that, and you do one date night a week, which is 3 hours, if that's all you did, that is 3% of your 168 hours of the week. 3%, okay? So pretending like we can't do that is fictitious. So it's prioritizing it, but being honest that you're uncomfortable with it and asking for grace, right? And then hopefully your spouse says, you know what? You're a badass and you've provided for our family and worked your freaking, and she does want to say that, but she might be resenting because it's been too long since she's had oxygen, right? I don't know. I'm speaking to everybody through your question.
So you guys spoke about the 20 families that came together at your house and set goals together.
Yeah.
My question is, once you have identified the proverbial Uncle Larrys in your life and you've kind of distanced yourself from them, how do you cultivate that in your local area? Because obviously it's easy to do that in this room once a year.
Yeah.
But how do you build that in your town?
It doesn't have to be. Some people drove 6 hours to come to that decree night. So it was a bigger area. But I understand your question. I think the best way to make friends is to
Be friendly.
right? You got to network. You have to meet people. You got to, what people don't realize is you can become friends that you want to become friends with. You can strategically find friends, okay? It's not just an accident. It's not like second grade, hopefully the kid next to you is not a booger eater, okay? You can go on LinkedIn and you can find people you look up to and you can find ways to get in the room and add value to their life and serve them and play the long game and become actual friends with people you think are just incredible, right? And that event wasn't at our house. It was my business partner, Josh Fierstein, and it was at a studio that we have. And it was this whole thing, right? It was epic. It was catered food. And it was just this really special thing. But he's been planning on doing that for a whole year. He's got a huge network. The guy knows everybody. I mean, everybody, right? But there was a time when he didn't know anybody. Just like everybody doesn't know anybody. And then they know everybody, right? So networking it's a skill. There's 3 things you need to be successful. It's the right mindsets, the right skill sets, and the right network. Network's really important. So go find them and find a way to get your foot in the door and try to get people that are ahead of you as often as you can.
Hello. Back to Cliff's comment, as a recovering workaholic, it's a journey. You have to take those steps bit by bit. I knew we had 2 phones at a time, and for the longest time, I could not leave that other phone at work. It took having somebody else who could watch it. It now sometimes will actually stay at work, which, gasp, it's not being answered. Setting up a way for that to be monitored, it takes a long time to break that addiction to it. And then also from the family side is making sure that your family understands the why. They see what you're doing. You see how you need to get it done. But if they don't understand and believe that why, understand that really your kids understand why daddy's taking them to go do estimates while you're doing that. What?
The vision.
The vision. There we go. So having that support with your spouse behind you makes all the difference in the world. So
That's good, bro. Very, very good.
Here, I'm just going to go right here.
Rob, you are a genius, my friend.
So what do you do when it's your family and they're like crabs in the bucket and they want to pull you back down and it's your close family, not just extended Uncle Larry, but close family?
You talk to them only about certain things. So you compartmentalize things. Is that what you're asking? When they have opinions and they want to be in all your business all the time?
Oh, okay.
So they are business owners, but are they just negative? Yeah. For example, my family, my mom wouldn't talk to me for 7 days after I quit a job at a bank to start cleaning windows. She did that because she loves me. She's just confused. She thought I was ruining my life, right? She just didn't understand. So her fear became negativity in my brain. But what you're talking about is you have family that are business owners and they're just negative and you want them to not, but they're family, so what do you do? That's what you're saying, right? Yeah, pre-framing, like we went to a restaurant last night and we got there right before they closed and the cooks were not happy, right? Because Open Table said that the place would be open and they were closing, but they let us sit down. So what did I do? I gave them a tip before we ordered. The cooks, that's called a pre-frame. That's called don't get spit in your food system, right? But pre-framing works for relationships. Yeah, I don't know if that helps. I think that is a tricky one. You know, we don't have all the answers, that's for sure. But if it reaches a bad enough point, you're just going to have to hyper-communicate and be like, here's the 4 things that are non-negotiables in our life going forward, the way we communicate to each other. If it comes to that, that's what I would do. It just might make you want to throw up. Ashley would want to puke to have that conversation. I would have it, right? So hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully you can manage it, limit time, or you can say, you know, hey, let's meet today. My goal today is to have no negativity this whole week. That's my goal, and we're working on that. And so that's a seed. It's a pre-frame. Then they feel weird being that way, right? You understand what I mean by that? No? Okay. Well, should we land the plane so we can all go party and have fun? Yeah? Okay. Well, listen, our heart and soul, what Automaker Sell has become now, this big thing, it was born out of a desire to serve entrepreneur families like you. And like we said, we definitely ain't got all the answers, but it's so cool to do life with y'all and that you're here because the impact you have is freaking huge. It's so big, and you're responsible for paychecks and changing your small family tree and your community and everything else. So anyway, thank you for spending so much time with us. We really, really, really appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you. Have a good night.